Time now for a WorldSport.tv exclusive.
What started my inspiration for golf as a young boy was the fact that my father, who was a very poor man, and invited me out to go and have a round of golf. I was reluctant to even think of the idea because I was playing soccer and cricket and other events at school. Anyway, he took me out and played, and I had 3 pars the first 3 holes I ever played. Very short little par 3 and 2 par 4s. And he was an inspiration to me because he told me what a wonderful game it was and that I could play it for a long time, unlike other sports where you finished at round 30 to 35 if you're lucky. I could play and it had longevity, and that I would be able to travel the world if I was good enough. But little did he realize at that stage that I would become a champion. But that was great advice, and he was a great inspiration and had an overdraft in the bank to buy me my first set of clubs. And when I won a tournament, he was a man of 6'1". You'd never think that when you look at a little runt like me. But he would put his arms around me and he would cry and be most affectionate that and very tearful that his son could be becoming a world champion. It took how long did it take me to realize I wanted to be a professional after my first round? You're talking 56 years ago, 58 years ago. So when you get to 73, your memory's not what it was when you were 30 now. But quite honestly, I started playing at 14. I realized I wanted to be a professional when I was 16. And I turned pro, much to my father's disgust, at the age of 17. He wanted me to go on to university, and I said, Dad, if I'm going to become the world champion, because I'm going to practice harder than anybody else in every respect, mind-wise, exercise-wise, diet-wise, and if I can become a champion of the world, it'll be a university degree. How difficult was it to play during the isolation time, the years of apartheid, playing sport for South Africa? Extremely difficult. For 2 years they were going to kill me every day. I lost the PGA in America, a major championship, by 1 shot to Raymond Floyd. They threw ice in my eyes, they threw telephone books in my back, they charged me on the green, they threw balls between my legs. They screamed on a putt. I had a putt of about 12 inches, and they screamed, and I missed the putt they were standing on the edge of the green, and I got such a fright. I missed the putt by about 3 inches. And this went on for 2 years around the world. In Australia, they were charging me on the greens. They had a police van going down the middle of the fairway and grabbing these people and throwing them in this van on the middle of a fairway. I mean, young people today couldn't comprehend that could possibly happen. And it was very difficult times to play, but it strengthened my mind, and it was one of the reasons that I won 18 major golf championships, 9 on the regular and 9 on the senior tour, because it taught me how to stand up to adversity. That was one of the things that taught me, and I've always said to become a champion is how you accept adversity. I think the recipe for success in my case was plain hard work. Trying to improve my mind, reading a lot of Winston Churchill and Mahatma Gandhi, and also the fact that I exercised. Being of small stature, I realized, and my brother, before he went to the last World War at the age of 17, he said to me, promise me you'll exercise for the rest of your life. I might not come back from the war. And I made that promise, and I've adhered to that. And even today, at the age of 73, I still do 1,000 sit-ups every time I go to the gym right now. So exercise, mind, beating balls. I could honestly look at the camera and say that these 10 hands have hit more balls than any man that ever lived. Now, Vijay Singh might pass me one day if he plays golf to the age of 73. If he doesn't, I will have hit the most balls that has ever lived. Well, as I sit here and look over the camera, I can see Muirfield, where I won my Open Championship and won a large sum of £1,200. But money wasn't the criteria. I wanted to try and be the best and win all the world's major championships. And my memories are fantastic. I was asked up into the clubhouse to sit up in the very top and watch the other players come in. I was 6 shots back going into the last day. We played 36 holes those days. And the 15th hole was a drive and a wedge and a calm day. In the morning I had a drive and a 3-iron. In the afternoon I had a drive and a 2-iron, and I birdied it on both occasions. And I came to the last hole and had a double bogey and shot 68 in a strong wind with the old inferior equipment, which is a great thrill for me. But I thought I'd really lost the tournament. And I had to go back to the hotel because it was so early, and I had a shower, and I put on my white Tournament of Champions jacket that I won in America, and I walked up and down the road with a man called George Bloomberg to the front entrance of Muirfield and back, and I continuously did that. And then when I won, I went out and I sat on the chairs and the tables long before the presentation, and I just said a little prayer of thanks that a young poor boy from South Africa could be winning the most important championship in the world, the Open Championship. You must appreciate, I wanted to try and be the first modern day Grand Slam player. I wanted to try and, in other words, beat Jack Nicklaus, who at that time was the big competition, and Arnold Palmer, looking who might win the Grand Slam first. And I obviously, we were competitive, I wanted to be the first to do it. So you win the Open Championship, which is the most important tournament in my eyes, and then I go along and I'm the first foreigner to win the Masters, and then we have the PGA Championship and I win that. Now I have not won the US Open, and Jack Nicklaus played a vital role. He said, come and practice with me instead of going to the regular tour event. I said, no, I need the money, I've got to go and practice. He said, come on, you come with me, you've got to get used to and you've got to get settled down and play the course continuously in St. Louis. Anyway, I went with him, and I managed to win the championship there, and that was the nail in the coffin. I had now won the Grand Slam, and I thought it was very sporting of Jack Nicklaus, knowing that we were both vying to be the first to do it, that he would encourage me to do that. Well, as I mentioned, when my brother went to war at 17, he made me promise. He said, promise me, if you're going to be a sportsman, that you will exercise, and you want to fulfill your dreams, you'll exercise all your life. And I adhered to that. And so exercise, being small, is vitally important. I might not have been as big and strong as Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, but I was much fitter than they were, because I worked out profusely. And even today they say they're sorry they didn't exercise like I did when we were young. But when I was young, weight training was a no-no. I was with Frank Stranahan, we were the only 2 golfers in the world that worked with weights. And one famous golf architect, I won't mention his name, said, Gary, player will never last past 35. You can't do weight training and play golf. And today everybody's doing weight training. They have traveling gymnasiums around the world. And any sportsman who doesn't do weights now will never be able to compete with the real champions of the world. So I can never, ever put enough emphasis on exercising, because your body is the most cherished thing you have. Your health is wealth. If I could get one message through to young people, I'd say, lay off the drink, lay off the smoke, lay off the drugs. Look after your body, because if you don't, you'll dearly pay for it. There were a host of competitors when I played, and it was very difficult for Jack Nicklaus to win 18 major championships as he did, because he had a lot of players that were fierce competitors and who could win. But my 2 fierce competitors from day in and day out were Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus. But there was also Tom Watson and Lee Trevino and Raymond Floyd and Billy Casper and Johnny Miller. You can go right down the line, and I hate to ever mention names because you leave somebody out, but there were a host of them. But Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus were my 2 real fierce competitors, and it was just great having these fierce battles, and we had a great understanding. And between us, we won nearly 60 major championships on the senior and regular tour, 60. So it was a great time, and we really had a love of golf and went around the world trying to promote the game. We weren't paid these enormous fees like these young chaps are today. And that doesn't perturb me, because I really love golf and I want to promote it in every corner of the world. It's a completely different game. Somebody can go along today and win one tournament and win what I won in my entire life. But as I said, money is not the criteria, it's what your record is. The equipment, the ball goes 50 yards further. You can't compare Tiger Woods to Ben Hogan or Sam Snead or Jack Nicklaus. You can only say so-and-so was the best in his time. The ball goes 50 yards further. It's so much easier to hit the ball straight with the metal heads, lightweight shafts, grooves that are stopping the ball out of the rough. Thank goodness they're stopping that. So it's a completely different game. I went by Greyhound bus, or I hitched a ride, or I occasionally gave myself the luxury of flying. And when I went to America from South Africa, I went in a Constellation, and then I eventually went with 6 children and had to travel those prodigious distances, get off and play against the Americans and play against the British who were at home. I'd love to have seen them travel to South Africa and play against me at that stage. I would love to have had that. But those were the difficulties, and that's the great change. Not any prize money, but these young fellas have got their own jets. But it was a great experience getting on a Greyhound bus and sitting next to some old black gentleman or some farmer or some young girl who was traveling. It was a different world, and I wouldn't change. I loved the time that I came about. Having been a poor boy and having struggled a great deal in life, I always said to myself, if I could become a champion, that I would like to try and help young people. And my son Mark, who runs my business so efficiently, you know, he's worked so hard with our entire staff at raising these monies, and we've raised $30 million for underprivileged children. The main theme obviously is education, because if we can get people to have education, it's such a big plus. Dealing with somebody who's uneducated is always more difficult than with somebody who is. And I always feel sorry for somebody who hasn't had a great education, because they've been deprived of the light of life. And so it's a thrill to these days, and these events take part in the 4 quadrants of the world. China, we have a wonderful day there. In Europe, in Africa, and in the United States. And people have been most generous. And that's the great thing about golf. People are great givers. And golf is a great catalyst at raising money. It beats any other sport. If you think on the American tour alone, we've raised $1 billion for charity and already on the 2nd billion. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to help people that don't have in life. It was a very simple thing for me to go into the golf design business, having traveled more than any, well, probably more than any human being that's ever lived, never mind any athlete. I've been traveling for 56 straight years. But seeing all these different golf courses around the world and really being a man of the land. I'm a farmer, as you can see in my hands. If you look carefully, your camera will pick up all these sores in my hand, having just come from my farm. So I'm a man of the land. I understand water, and I love design. In fact, on my farm today, I've designed a golf course that is really 70% water. You don't need water. It's 70% less water than the average golf course. 70% less oil, manpower, just overhead costs and maintenance of golf courses. And so I've really come out with something that's very different, and we are already doing some of these courses in the world. And with what's happening in the world, with a shortage of water and resources in the world, this will be the style of golf courses that people will be forced to go to, because the costs are abhorrent. I think you've got to build a golf course where the family wants to go out and participate, which I've done on my farm. They can see horses, cattle, sheep, climb mountains, swims, play tennis court. They can go down the river. There's a lot of things for the family to do. Whereas now the father's going out to the golf course and the mother and children don't want him to go because it's time consuming. So you've got to get them to be part of the game of golf. And you take my golf course, I built that with a backhoe and 6 people in a tough terrain. So it's made me very proud to do that and to show people that we don't have to spend these massive sums of money. And you know, you've got to have good drainage on a golf course. That's imperative. But the other thing is to create beauty, because the average person is wrapped up in business, particularly in the world as it is today, the economic situation, and they're in the office and it's hustle and bustle and tension. If you can go out to a golf course and create beauty, and beauty is indigenous to that area, whatever it may be, and to have a feeling for the land and trees and flowers and water and grasses. And then if you can incorporate animals on the golf course, which I've done, makes it even more benefiting and enjoyable. So it's more than just a golf course. It's creating something that does something for the human being's soul. Well, I wouldn't be able to continue, and would never have continued as long as I have, to the age of 73, and I still played in the Masters at 73 this year, 52 times. So the longevity has been there, and I put it down a lot to do with my family. 21 grandchildren, 6 children who I love so much, and my grandchildren, an incredible wife, 52 years of marriage. No woman would have put up with me always saying goodbye. So family, well, your health, your family, and your faith. I don't know how you ever beat that. I mean, but the love of your family. I mean, when I have my 21 grandchildren, they just want to sit on my lap and hug me. Now that you can't buy, and it's invaluable. In conclusion, what I've found to be very important, and that's to be happy, to be able to laugh, and to be able to laugh at yourself. You can be serious whilst working and doing your job. And when I played golf, I was like in the boxing ring. I was ready to fight anybody and wasn't scared of anybody. But I've been a giggler, and I've been able to tease my children and grandchildren and laugh, because that's God's medicine. To be happy makes you live longer, and everybody wants to live long. So what's your diet? And exercise.
All World Sport videos are free to share and embed. Just click on the share button underneath this video. And don't forget to sign up to our RSS feed to keep up to date with all the latest videos on worldsport.tv.